Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmIOverReacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be going through the post, giving you my opinion at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Icy Rope 7322. Am I overreacting? My sister-in-law flipped out because I didn't reserve food for her kid. Last weekend, during a casual family lunch at my place, I had invited my in-laws over. Nothing fancy, just homemade pasta, garlic bread, and salad. Everyone was serving themselves buffet style from the kitchen counter. And I'd made sure everything was kid-friendly too, since my sister-in-law, let's call her Marie, was bringing her 7-year-old son. When they arrived, we said our hellos and everyone headed over to grab their plates. I helped my toddler first, then started serving myself while chatting with my mother-in-law. Marie was on her phone, her son just standing near her, looking kind of lost. But I figured she'd help him once she noticed. About 10 minutes later, everyone's at the table, eating, and her kid is still wandering around without a plate. I quietly asked Marie if she needed help, and she snapped that I should have served him like everyone else. I told her I assumed she'd want to fix his plate since I didn't know what he liked or how much he'd eat. She rolled her eyes, got up in a huff, and loudly said something like, "I guess it's too much to expect some basic help." It made everything super awkward. I felt bad, but also kind of irritated. It wasn't like I ignored her kid, I genuinely thought she had it covered. I also don't feel great about being scolded like that in front of everyone when I was just trying to host and feed a group of 8. Later, my husband told me that Marie texted him, saying I was cold and made her feel unwelcome. He said not to take it personally. I like Marie, but I don't think I was being rude or neglectful. So am I overreacting for feeling annoyed and a bit hurt? User Lucas comments, "You served your toddler, then yourself. You did not serve everyone and ignore the child. It's on the mom to make sure her child has a plate. Sounds like sister-in-law is an entitled brat and expects everyone to bend over backwards for her. She's also a terrible mom for blaming someone else for not feeding her child when everyone is helping themselves and she's right there. Any normal mom with an actual interest in her own child will make sure they are fed before she is. He's 7. He's perfectly capable of putting his own plate up. If it's up too high, he's capable of opening his mouth and saying, 'Auntie, can you get me something please? I can't reach.' The fact he was wandering around looking lost mean this isn't unusual for him. She feeds him when she remembers or expects others to feed him. He's just used to being ignored and asking doesn't get any results." And that final line right there is why I included this comment. He's just used to being ignored and asking doesn't get any results. Because that is such a perfect way of phrasing it and putting it, and it explains the entire situation in full. It is a pretty goddamn depressing explanation, but it's one that makes an unfortunate amount of sense and perfectly explains the behavior of the child alongside the behavior of the mother. It also speaks volumes and shows what kind of character she has when, during this whole situation, her takeaway from this was that she felt that you were being cold and unwelcoming. This tells me that she considers good hosting to be when someone else takes care of her kid for her. So yeah, definitely not overreacting, and I certainly feel bad for that 7-year-old. Unhappy one. Am I overreacting? Teen brother is having his second baby, and my mom expects me to financially support. I, 26 female, have been financially supporting my family since I graduated college. I'm the middle child with an older brother, 31 male, a younger brother, 16 male, and my mom, 50. For years, I covered most of the bills and food. A few years ago, I got married and moved abroad. I told my mom and brother they needed to start working too. They were upset at first, but eventually got jobs overseas and things stabilized. While my mother was away and my younger brother was left with grandma, unfortunately, got his girlfriend pregnant at 15 years old. I was devastated because I had planned to support him through college, but instead, I ended up helping raise his baby. My mom worked for about a year and a half, but hated her job and eventually quit. She said she wanted to be home because my brother was failing school and had to repeat a year, and she also wanted to care for the baby. She allowed his girlfriend to move in too. That meant my financial support was suddenly covering my mom, my brother, his girlfriend, and their child. Recently, the baby turned 1. Then, my mom told me that my brother, 16, got his girlfriend pregnant again, and she's due in 3 months. She claims she didn't know, but I find that hard to believe since they live under the same roof. Now, my mom is asking me and my older brother to send more money so my younger brother can finish at least high school. But he's failing most of his classes and constantly causing problems. So I don't see that happening. I told my mom I'll continue sending the same amount I already budget for her, but I will not send more. If my brother is old enough to have 2 babies, he's old enough to work and support them. And then he could continue his studies if he wants to, but I will not send more money. I also told her if she pressures me, I might stop supporting them altogether. For context, I'm married, but my husband and I have decided not to have kids yet. Maybe not ever. After years of being financially responsible for my family, I don't feel excited about the idea of children. Being married was my only chance to live my life and enjoy our lives first, so finding out about my brother having another baby really broke me. I feel like I'm being pushed into a parental role I never agreed to. I had been saving to visit home this year, as I have been extremely homesick, and had been saving to take everyone on a trip and renovate my mom's house. But now I'm planning to cancel everything because I feel like they all lied to me. I love my family and really miss them, but I feel so betrayed and unappreciated for all the sacrifices I did for them. Am I overreacting? An excellent comment thread, starting with Abstract Lemons. Do not let your family's poor decisions dictate your life. You should not be financially supporting their choices. Emotionally, sure, but financially, no. Cut the purse strings. You're not on the hook for your deadbeat family. The fact that your mom has a child still in high school but is unwilling to work to support him is gross, regardless of whether or not he's a teen dad. If he's still in high school and your mother can't be bothered to work, what the fuck? You're just a meal ticket. Interesting Novel 997 responds with one of my favorite sayings, "Stop setting yourself on fire to keep those leeches warm. Not overreacting." I don't want to prescribe malice, but OP's mother here is being ridiculously irresponsible, and I feel like she feels that she can be and not actually have to parent her child, because she knows that OP, or at least thinks she knows, that OP will continue to fund this. While they're going to protest and say you're being harsh and unreasonable, pulling the plug on the financial support might honestly be the best bet. Because now it's reaching a point where you don't even want to go home to visit them because you're no longer visiting family, you're visiting dependents. Dependents that just see you as a meal ticket. Dependents that aren't changing their behaviors because they know you're going to continue to finance them. The mother is allowing her son to continue making poor decisions and, hell, almost encouraging them. Definitely not overreacting. I'd have a talk with your husband about if you should pull the plug or if you should continue at the baseline. And stick to your word that if they continue to push for more financial support, that you'll just outright pull the plug. And you're not overreacting for even considering that. It's the wise decision to make. Peer Operation 3034. Am I overreacting about my mom being angry that I didn't invite her to my therapy session? So I, 24 female, started therapy last month. I live with my parents, and my mom has always been very controlling about my mental health. When I told her I was finally seeing a therapist, she immediately asked when she could sit in to explain her side. I told her therapy is supposed to be private. She flipped, saying I'm being dramatic and that my problems started in her house, so she has the right to be involved. Yesterday, she found my therapist's card and actually called the office to ask if she could schedule to join my next session. My therapist told me this and reassured me that I am the client, not my mom. But now my mom is furious and calling me ungrateful for not letting her help fix me. Am I overreacting to be creeped out and angry that she did this? Your mom 100% knows that she is at least part of the cause of your mental health problems. I can't say the sole cause because I don't know you, but sounds like that she's definitely part of the cause. And she knows it. Now, a few days ago, we had a post where we talked about parents who liked the idea of being a mother but not actually being a mother. They enjoyed the idea of having the label of I'm a mom, but the responsibilities of being a mother, well, not so much. And something tells me that she falls into that boat. She wants to maintain the perception that she's a good mother, so she has to also get your therapist to understand her side of the equation. Now, speaking from experience from dealing with people like this, they probably have this grandiose idea that they'll be able to sit into the therapy session, explain their side, the therapist will understand by the mother's cunning words, Oh my god, the mother isn't to blame here. It's all the child. She's actually such a great mother. I know it sounds like I'm being dramatic, but I have met with and had conversations with people who do follow this line of thought. Hell, I fucking dated someone who has this line of thought. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized, oh, this isn't normal. There's a fun little comment exchange below, starting with Wizard of Claws. Not overreacting. I think your mom might know what a large factor she is going to play in your therapy sessions, whether she's there or not. Quiet Moon 2191 comments, well, the therapist definitely does after the mom called. And that's the thing, is that by the mom trying to get ahead and make herself out to not be the villain in her daughter's story, she's inadvertently giving the therapist everything they need to understand exactly what's going on in the daughter's home life. And also a starting point. Dwayne Paul. Am I overreacting for walking out after my girlfriend embarrassed me in front of her friends? So, this happened a few nights ago, and it's been sitting heavy in my head ever since. I, 27 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 25 female, for a little over a year. Things were going great, or so I thought. We're pretty different. She's super social and loud, and I'm more low-key and reserved, but I never saw that as a problem until this weekend. She invited me to hang out with her and her group of friends at a rooftop bar. I'd met some of them before, but this was the first time I'd be spending a whole evening with them. I was actually looking forward to it. I even dressed up more than usual because I wanted to make a good impression. Everything was fine at first, a little awkward small talk, but nothing bad. Then, one of her friends made a joke about couples, something like, "Who's the most whipped here?" And my girlfriend immediately pointed at me and said, "Him, obviously. He'll do anything I say." Everyone laughed, and I tried to laugh too, but she didn't stop. She kept going. She said stuff like, "He's basically my personal driver," and "He's too nice to even argue." It went from teasing to straight-up humiliation. I just sat there, smiling like an idiot, trying not to show how much it stung. Then, one of her friends actually said, "Damn, don't roast the guy like that." And she still brushed it off like it was nothing. After that, I quietly paid for my drink, got up, and left. I didn't make a scene, I just said, "Hey, I'm gonna head out," and walked away. She texted me an hour later saying I ruined the vibe, and that I can't take a joke. I told her she crossed a line and that it wasn't funny to embarrass me in front of people. She replied with, "You're being dramatic, it was just jokes." So I told her I needed space, and I haven't spoken to her since. So, Reddit, am I overreacting for walking out and cutting contact after she made me look like a clown in front of her friends? If I'm gonna be honest, this is just a shitty girlfriend. You doing nice things for her, and you just making sure that she's happy doesn't mean you're whipped. It just means you're a good partner. And if she's gonna take you doing nice things for her and turn that into a fucking butt of a joke, then hey, maybe she'd just be happier with a guy that doesn't do nice things for her. You got bullied by your girlfriend, dude. That's fucked up. And rather than her apologizing because she crossed the line and didn't realize it and just got lost in the moment, which does happen, we're human, she doubled down, said you ruined the vibe. You caused the embarrassment. It's your problem. The night went sour. She chose to disregard your emotions in that moment, even when her friends tried to tell her to, back off a little bit, this is getting kind of fucked up. She kept tripling down, quadrupling down, quintupling down, and at every point making you the butt of the joke. What could have been her bragging about how awesome her boyfriend is turned into her making fun of you for caring about her. She's the problem, not you. Either she needs to apologize or you need to find someone that actually appreciates for who you are as a person. Anyone who uses, "Oh, you can't take a joke," as an excuse for their actions just doesn't want to take accountability for the fact that they're an asshole. And they don't want to face that reality, so they make it your problem instead. Leaving was the right thing here, not overreacting. Emergency Throat 824. Am I overreacting? My boyfriend broke up with me after I set a boundary with his best friend. I never thought a simple no could end my relationship. My boyfriend and I were great for a while, and things were mostly good except one issue: his best friend. From early on, I noticed his best friend would try to hold or touch my hand casually, like during conversations or when sitting close. It always made me uncomfortable. I brought it up to my boyfriend more than once, hoping he'd understand, but he kept dismissing it. He'd say things like, that's just how he is, or don't make a big deal out of nothing. Recently, his best friend asked me to take a picture with him. I didn't feel comfortable and said no. Politely. My boyfriend got upset and said I embarrassed his friend and made everything awkward. I tried to explain again how his behavior crosses boundaries for me, but it didn't matter. A day later, he broke up with me. He said I was causing drama and making things difficult between him and his friend. It broke my heart because instead of standing by me or even trying to understand how I felt, he chose to walk away. I keep questioning myself. Was I overreacting by saying no, or was I justified standing up for my boundaries? I got no idea what's going on with this one. I can think of maybe two possibilities. Either he maybe wanted to share you, and when he found out that you didn't want to be shared, he just ended the relationship and didn't have the courage to talk to you about that. Or maybe, he's just totally blind to the touching stuff or doesn't believe you, so he's getting two sets of information. His best friend's like, bro, dude, she's trying to separate and isolate you from your friends. That's abusive, bro. And meanwhile, she's like, hey, your best friend keeps touching me. Yeah, man, but it's just in the way that I normally do. You know how I am. She's just trying to isolate me from you. I know this is 100% a fictional conversation, but it's the only way that I can really parse or make sense of what's going on here. Because it could just very well be something that the best friend is very weirdly touchy, but at the same time, if the girlfriend said, hey, I'm uncomfortable with that, the boyfriend should have been like, hey dude, she's not comfortable with that. A simple no should not have been the catalyst for a relationship ending, unless there was more nefarious things going on either side of this. And that's just kind of where my brain jumps to. I'm personally leaning towards the fact that maybe the best friend was weaponizing the whole, hey, be careful if your partner starts isolating you from your friends because that's abusive angle of things, and is trying to now use that as, she won't let me touch her? Well, she's being abusive to you, bro. I got no idea beyond that, though. Fairy no more. Am I overreacting because I think it's rude of my best friend to ask me not to have alcohol around my house because her boyfriend doesn't drink? I recently invited my best friend for a small dinner at my boyfriend's and my place since we haven't caught up in a while. She recently has gotten into a relationship with a guy who doesn't drink alcohol, which I have no problem with. She said it would be a great idea to have dinner, although I should not have any alcohol around the house when they come to visit. The reason he doesn't drink is not because of religious reasons. My boyfriend and I drink alcohol during dinner parties, such as a little wine or beer, but nothing excessive. Am I overreacting to think it's slightly rude of her to ask me to not have any alcohol in the home while her boyfriend is around? I spoke to my boyfriend about it, and he is now totally put off the idea of the dinner party because it's our home and we should live the way we always do. Advice needed. Update. I just had a conversation with her. She told me that he doesn't like her drinking alcohol and he's prevented her from going out anymore. She claims to love him and he's her dream guy, but it just sounds controlling to me. I just had this conversation with her right now and that's what she told me, which is probably why we can share a bottle of wine when we're alone, but for appearance's sake, I should not have any alcohol displayed in my home because she's afraid that he'll tell her to stop being friends with me. So a lot of the comments seem to miss a lot of the yellow flags on this post before even the update, which made those yellow flags turn into red flags. There is nothing, in fact, wrong with asking someone for something, but the request can sometimes have underlying implications that can raise yellow flags, and those yellow flags can very quickly become red flags. Now, let me explain what those yellow flags are. So before the update, there's the question of, why would you need to hide the alcohol or not have it in the home? Is the boyfriend just not capable of being around alcohol? Is he still struggling with sobriety, and it would just be safer for him not to have any bottles around? That's why the flags are yellow, because they're more of just questions. There's a lot of just extra odd things about that. What happens when they're out in public and there's alcohol nearby? OP initially did not provide enough information, but a lot of the comments were immediately turning against OP for declining to hide the bottles of alcohol in their home because they found that to be a rude request because someone was going to be visiting their home. Now then, we have the update, which changes this from being a bunch of yellow flags and I really have a lot of questions to, wow, your friend needs to get out of that relationship. The friend wanted the bottles of alcohol hidden. Not for the boyfriend, but for her. She wants the bottles of alcohol to be out of sight so that way she doesn't have one of her friends added to the list of people she can no longer hang out with, because it sounds like her boyfriend is actively excluding and isolating her from friends that actively drink. So her drinking wine with OP is 100% a secret. And that's why the bottles have to be hidden. Because if the boyfriend sees them, he's going to know that her friends drink alcohol and can no longer then be friends. Chances are OP's probably too embarrassed to elaborate on this because while there are so many green flags, there are red flags in the mix. And when those red flags start getting analyzed by other people, it puts her in a really awkward boat that she just isn't ready to be in yet. Her boyfriend is having the final say in who she can and cannot be friends with, and that is a problem. And I get the impression that OP's friend is now at the point where they're trying to go through the effort to make their friends appear they meet the boyfriend's criteria. You might need to have a really delicate and intricate conversation with your friend. It sounds like that she might be in a not-so-good relationship after all. From a deleted user. Am I overreacting? My husband threw away my food because it's unsanitary. I'm currently pregnant and averse to most foods. My acquaintance made one of my favorite dishes, one of the few that I am not averse to cheer me up and to thank me for a couple of favors I did for her. And my husband went to pick it up today. When he got home, he threw it away in the trash without giving me a chance to try it. He claimed that her house smelled weird, there was cat hair, etc., and that he didn't feel comfortable eating the food she made because it was cooked in a dirty and unsanitary environment. I've been to her house many times before, and it was always clean. I told him that he didn't have to eat the food if he didn't like it, but he said that he didn't want me to eat it either. That's why he threw it away. Once I expressed that I was upset, he said I could take it out of the trash as it was still packed up in the box and didn't get dirty. But I'm still pissed as I'm not an animal to eat food from the trash. Am I overreacting or was he out of line? Edit to add. He just admitted he hasn't actually thrown it away. He just hid it and said he threw it away to see how I'd react. I don't know how to feel anymore. Comment from usedmark7911, which was before the edit. Not overreacting. I don't believe he was concerned about the state of your friend's house. In fact, I think he made that up. I think he intentionally tried to keep something you were excited about away from you. He wanted you to be upset. That's messed up. Does he get jealous of your relationships with friends and family? Is he annoyed about your pregnancy taking some focus away from him? Purple Ruler comments in response, yes, something dark going on here, isn't there? Such a small thing, but a very odd, controlling, and spiteful thing. He's jealous of the friend and maybe of OP and the attention she's getting too. Getting weird vibes. This man is maybe going to be jealous of his own child. I would definitely move out for a few nights to think it over. User OK Introduction 9466 comments, I might get downvoted as one of those commenters who just says to break up, but I don't care. I think you should be concerned that this is abuse and you need to leave your partner, even if only temporarily. The edit to add is really concerning. He took food from you, said he threw it away, but actually only hid it, just to see how you'd react. You're pregnant and need to be under as little stress as possible. Stress can literally kill you. Look up preeclampsia. And you also need to eat. He's controlling. This is weird. Listen to me because I was in your shoes. Find somewhere safe to go and stay with family for the duration of your pregnancy. He's going to keep doing shit like this if you don't remove yourself. It feels like isolation as well. If he thinks your friend's house is dirty, will he let you go over there? Will he try to stop the friendship under the guise of safety? Wait for him to be at work again and pack and leave and go stay with that friend. Shut off the Wi-Fi while you pack your things. It takes hidden cameras and doorbell cams offline. This is really concerning. It's a huge red flag, and abuse usually pops up when pregnancy happens because they think they have you trapped. If his behavior persists, I'm telling you right now, you should divorce before the baby arrives so you can remove his name from the birth certificate. I saw a post on here that still gives me chills. The woman was pregnant and wrote to Reddit about her husband's behavior. Everyone told her to leave and she didn't listen. The baby was born and she realized she needed to leave, but it was too late and she felt stuck in the marriage because divorce meant he'd get the child 50% of the time and she didn't think the kid would be safe with him unsupervised. You need to not chalk up a man's behavior to nothing. Sometimes it is best to think of the worst case scenario when a child is involved. Also, read this book with a link to Why Does He Do That? Which, by the way, is definitely a worthwhile read. If you feel like you might be in an abusive relationship, this is something to take a look at because it does highlight a lot of just under-the-table behaviors that can be destructive or even just signs of what's to come. Honestly, killing the Wi-Fi to make sure that any cameras like a Nest camera or Ring camera are just completely down is a really good idea for your own safety measure, and something that, if you ever find yourself in this situation, is something you should look into potentially doing. Now, additionally, I just kind of wanted to add this as a final thought. As someone who enjoys rage-baiting people I care about, whether it's friends, family, loved ones, partners, doesn't matter, I like kind of being a bastard sometimes. There is a line and a time and a place to do it. This is not one of them. It is not funny or cute to rage-bait your partner by throwing away their meal that they're looking forward to when they're pregnant. There is a time and a place, and this is definitely not one of those times. Also, the whole point of rage baiting your significant others or friends or family is that at the end of it, you're both supposed to laugh about it, and it's not supposed to leave anyone feeling sour about it. And this is, of course, giving the most best faith interpretation of the husband's actions that I possibly can. I'm not trying to water down the husband's actions, I'm just trying to cover any potential bases that might be brought up and explain why that doesn't excuse this behavior. OP is definitely not overreacting in the slightest. Alluring girl with a U. Am I overreacting for breaking up with my boyfriend after finding a hidden camera in my room? I, 19 female, have been dating my boyfriend 20 male for about 8 months. He would come over to my dorm a lot, sometimes even stay the night when my roommate was gone. A few days later, I was cleaning my room and noticed something weird, like a tiny black dot inside one of my fake plants on the shelf near my desk. I looked closer and realized it was a small camera. I was completely freaked out. I confronted him later that day, and after denying it a few times, he finally admitted he put it there, just to see what I do when he's not around. His excuse was that I'd been acting different lately, and he just thought I might be talking to someone else. I wasn't, I just got busy with school and work. I told him that what he did was insanely creepy, and broke up with him immediately. He kept saying I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that if I wasn't hiding anything, it shouldn't bother me. Now, some mutual friends are telling me I overreacted and that I should have just talked to him first before ending it. But honestly, I can't stop thinking about how violating it felt knowing he was literally spying on me in my own space. So, am I overreacting? So unfortunately, this is an AI-generated post. There are people in the comments who are, asking ChatGPT to write a Reddit story that involves finding a fake camera, and it's almost a word-for-word recreation. But there are a few things in this story that are worth mentioning, and the thing about AI is that it does take an amalgamation of everyone's content on the internet and essentially vomits out this. Also, the reason why it's AI is because in what universe would someone hear that their boyfriend hid a camera in their room and be like, well, hold on, maybe you should have talked to him first. I think you might be overreacting by breaking up. Or additionally, the fact that she found a hidden camera in a room that she shares with a roommate, and her first response was to jump to blaming the boyfriend. There is a massive leap in logic from going from, I found a camera in my fake plant, to then, I confronted my boyfriend about it. Could it have been any of the roommate's friends? Could it have been maybe a guy that your roommate invited in? Could it have been any of that kind of stuff? But instead, jumped right to the boyfriend, battered him about it, he admitted it was him. It's too perfect, pretty much. I know that some of you in the audience would prefer I don't touch these, or others of you only feel that the only crime you can commit on the internet is being boring, so as long as a post isn't boring, then who cares? But I see this as an opportunity to have more interesting conversations, because with this being an amalgamation of things pulled from other posts, there have been people out there being mutual friends who stay neutral in situations like this where it is so egregiously obvious that someone is in the wrong. As an example, if the story was about, hey, my boyfriend just sucker punched my 2-year-old in the face and I screamed and yelled at him, kicked him out of my house, but our friends right now are saying I'm overreacting and they're choosing to stay neutral on this one. There are cases that by choosing to stay neutral, you are inherently picking a side. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where someone wrongs you in such an obvious way, but your mutual friends are either not picking a side or not asking for your side of the equation, or just simply staying out of it, then you have your answer. They've chosen their side, and they've chosen who they would prefer to believe. Sometimes even hitting you with the, maybe you should have just heard them out first. Now, where the difference comes down to, a real friend will either wholeheartedly take your side, or if they don't, a real friend who disagrees with you will still ask for your side of things, but then also call you out on your mistakes. If someone does that to you, that is a real friend. That is someone who sees your flaws, but they're still willing to stick by you and have the conversation to keep you around. If someone stays neutral, it means either two things. One, they can't be fucked to deal with the situation right now and don't have the headspace for it. Or two, they've already picked their sides and they just want to hide behind the veil of neutrality. Figure out which one it is and figure out how you want to move on from there. Also, just to wrap this whole thing up, if you ever find a camera someone else put in your bedroom, whether it's your significant other or not, and you didn't ask them to put it there or you weren't aware of it being placed there, it's 100% creepy stalker behavior and should not be tolerated. Revolutionary Desk 76-4. Am I overreacting? My roommate is unemployed and incredibly loud and obnoxious. Hi, I have a roommate who I've lived with since around March this year. Throughout this time, she has been a horrible person to live with. Things include biting me, being obnoxiously loud at random times of the day, eating all day, refusing to get a job, and sleeping all day long. While I've tried to deal with this for a while, my patience is starting to run out. I asked my mother for some advice, which she simply told, "You know damn well," or "Stop being silly." I feel really ignored and out of my depth here, and I'm just trying to see if someone finally understands what I mean. You know what? I'll attach an image to make you realize the type of person she is and why she's so harmful. See photo. Those of you who are audio-only listeners, it's a photo of a cat with their tongue going bleh. So, quite the obnoxious little devil. Some comments here. Evening Ease 3403. She said you're a liar, and she would like some churro as an apology. Triad01 comments. You're overreacting. That's the face of someone who could do no wrong. And honestly, they're right. OP's a liar, and they can't be trusted. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.